All right, I'll call the December 20th meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order and start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First on the agenda was the longevity for Lieutenant Michael Boy. We have a certificate for the lieutenant. He's got 20 years of service in for the town, and really applaud him for sticking with us for that amount of time. And John, you'll take care of getting this to him?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. And we have the Fair Association would like to speak to us, and my understanding is you'd like to go in non-public?
Well,
No, we could actually
we
skip the
don't see any need to at this point.
Okay.
It's stating facts and figures, that way it can be discussed afterwards if need be.
Okay. Don, did you want to?
Go to the table.
You too, Sean, there's one for you.
Want right or left?
That's fine.
Okay, Don Wyman, Deerfield Fair President. For numerous years, we've always had the Deerfield Fire Department at the fairgrounds for our fire patrol, and along with the EMTs. We normally hire, or they hire, different outside entities to help us out with the EMTs and with the fire. Normally, the superintendent of nursing or the EMTs handles that part for us with the regards to ambulance and EMT coverage, and the fire department normally handles their portion. This year, it changed a little bit. The fire chief decided he would bring on the ambulance coverage, and he would also handle the fire, which is fine. That's the part that he does. When I first started on the director's board many years ago, we were given a $4,000 donation to George Clark, then extended over to Mark Tibbetts. Mark, sometime after that, asked if we could raise it to $8,000. So we did, of course. Times changed, everything went up. So it was an $8,000 coverage for a number of years after that. The new chief came in, which is expected. Again, things change, prices change. We've gone up to almost a $12,000 donation in the past, which is, again, is entirely acceptable. That's what happens, you know. People give their time. None of us are there to make money off of this. So the neighboring towns, they came in at a lower rate and helped us out, no different than the police do, and along with the ambulances. So when we normally get an ambulance in, that comes with complete coverage. We don't pay individual people on the ambulance board. We bring in a rig, which comes with 2 or maybe 3. So if we need 2 rigs, we have 6. And then there's EMTs that we hire on to float from Candia or Northwood, Nottingham, so on. This particular year, we'd asked the chief, or the chief had asked if he could put a proposal in, or was going to put a proposal in, I should say. He did so. The proposal was kind of staggering. It came up at $47,000.65. We got the proposal. We've been asking for it in due time so that we could, you know, go over it, discuss it, all the things that had to be done. We received it a week prior to the fair. So we had to discuss it on the Thursday meeting before the fair. We had to ask him to come in actually the Friday meeting that we have at the fair. So issues came up, and we'd asked him if he could please reconsider this, look at it, see if there was any places he could cut that $47,000 bill. That was just a lot, jumping from $12,000 to $47,000. Pretty much stated, no, there's no place we can cut. So we paid, to me, an absorbent amount of money to different areas, Nottingham, Northwood, Chichester, for their police coverage. We can, you know, if we had to, we could break down their prices. We have them with us. So I just think that we've been taken advantage of. This is not per se the Deerfield Fair, it's a Deerfield Fair. It's our association. One of the big things that kind of kicked me off a little bit is we're the second highest taxpayer in town. If anybody builds a barn or house or any structure such as that, and it needs to be inspected, there's no charge to the inspection. We have inspections done at the fair. We were charged 2 men, 2 days, pretty good rate. Pretty close to $27, $28 an hour per person. And they billed us out 12 hours a day and 7 hours a day equivalent for both days. The state was also here. We didn't receive a bill from the state. They did it. To me, that's what I thought it was. If you're a taxpayer, you pay for that service. That's a service that we get as a taxpayer. So, you know, I know we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place this year because we had no contract. This contract sits here, which I don't know how abiding it is. It sits here with no signature from me, because the last thing we talked to the chief about is to please reconsider and maybe go over it, change some things, cut some prices if you could. Made no mention of doing that, and never came to me to do this. So when the meetings after the fair came along, we'd asked, could we see this? Could we get this bill? You know, there's people in other towns that need to be paid. It never came forth. It never came forth. Then all of a sudden, we know that the selectmen were put into a hard spot too, and you had to pay those bills. You know, we can't allow our neighboring towns to put forth time that was due to them and money that was due to them and promised to them and not pay it in good faith. It's not a thing that the town does to another neighboring town. That sets a bad precedence if we ever needed help again, which the Deerfield Fair will. We need help every year. You know, we get the different towns from the police, different towns for EMS and fire. One of the things that we did ask the chief, that if he's gonna charge us this much money, normally the fire department stays in the fire department because they're allowing the kids to get on the apparatus, to, you know, ask questions. You know, they may be firefighters someday, they may be EMTs someday. So we'd asked if, one, the COVID wasn't allowing anybody to do that. We weren't letting anybody in, you know, per the department, to get on the trucks and stuff like that inside the building. So we'd asked that with that kind of money and paying that much out, please don't let anybody stay there. Do your job, go patrol the grounds. You know, if you need to leave 2 people there for an apparatus to get it rolling, that's fine. We're not coming all the way across the town of Deerfield with traffic. So put everybody out there. The EMTs, they rove all day long. You know, those people are constantly out there walking. They didn't. Almost every fireman stayed in the building all day long, with not any concern to it. I made mention to it a couple times walking by, because that's what I do. I walk around. I see what's going on. They stayed there. They didn't move. We had 2 calls that went out during the fair to the town. And again, that's what they're there for. Our service is to the town. It's not only to the fair. I understand that. But when they left, they went out to what I'm gonna call, lack of better words, simple calls. They took 4 people to each call, pretty much. 2 rigs, 4 people. So that never came off our bill. That stayed there. So we ended up paying all the time that they were gone. We paid them to be at the fair. So our coverage was lacking, and I'm not saying it was detrimental, but it was lacking. We never got a cut on that. You know, we paid full boat. So from the $47,000.65, basically with grand total here is $33,620.35. I've dug deep into it pretty much, not really seeing where the change was and why it went down to the 33, but that's not the point. The point taken is, or given, is this, I feel, we were taken advantage of in the town by the fire chief. I see this in a couple of different areas. That's none of my business, but I do see it in a couple of different areas. I'm not here as being a person on the fire department, I'm being here as a person that's in charge of the fair. I'm not really concerned about other things in the town at this point in time. I'm concerned about the Deerfield Fair and the well-being of that. That's what I was voted in to do. So that's what I do. I take it very seriously. So some of the things that, you know, we can throw up and I'd like you guys to consider and to maybe, you know, stand advised of is, for years, we've always contributed to the fireworks display at the Old Home Day. We give $2,500 every year. There's a couple of years that we were lacking a little bit in attendance. I think we cut that down to $1,500, but we were there all the time. This past COVID year was a bad year. The town needed a place for voting sessions, needed a place for deliberative sessions. We allowed the town to come in and do that. The buildings that we allow, we charge for normally. We didn't charge anything to the town because that's what neighbors in town do. If you've got a barn and I've got a horse and I need to put it in there for a day, good people will let you do that. So with the deliberative sessions, you know, you figure there's 5 days to set that up. It's 5 days worth of revenue that the fair just forwent. You know, we didn't want it. That was the top half of the building. Not only that, but we also let you guys use the bottom of the building, which is another amount that we charge. From that point, we went to, again, the Old Home Day fireworks, like I mentioned. We've always done the trunk or treat from day one when it started. We always allow you to use the ground. Again, that's a fee that we normally charge to any other person walking around. That's a charge. The fire department trainings. We always let them use our hydrants inside the grounds. We let them stretch the hoses across our grounds. We've never denied that because, God forbid, something happens at the fair in an off-season or any other building in this town, we want the fire department prepared. No different than when we allow the state police and the sheriff's department to come in and train in our buildings. We want them prepared. That's what we're for. Again, you have the space, you let me use it. If I have the space, I'll let you use it. That's the kind of work that we do. The fire trucks. Since Mark and since we built the fire building down there, George Clark, Mark Tibbetts, have always parked one apparatus or another all year long. Again, that's revenue to the fair that we don't accept. We don't take anything there. We actually offered to a prior chief, if they wanted to split the cost, we would allow them to use that fire building as a third home base. Put the ambulance in there, put the rescue in, whatever we did. If we bought an ambulance, put it in there. If you buy rescue, put it in there. So we've always given that, again, because we want to be able to help. If you have something centrally located to town, it works. Again, school board sessions, we've held them down to the grounds, free. We don't do anything with that. Several days set up again. Tricky Tray, we've always allowed that to happen every time they ask. We have bike-a-thons constantly, whether it be Catamount or whatever. Sometimes it's not affiliated with the town. It's just people that live here in town that host it and put it on. We give that to them. DCS, semi-formal. They had no place to do it this year because of COVID, or last year. We allowed them again to use the sheep barn. Now these are high-dollar buildings that we allow them to use for absolutely nothing. Graduation, same thing. We've done that. I just feel, and I think it needs to be looked at, that point blank, we were taken advantage of. You know, when you go from a $12,000 donation to 40, like I said, it was originally $47,000. Now it's 33. But at 33,000, if you look at that, we contracted or had Northwood Fire Station, Fire Department, help us out. All right, they came in. We paid them. You paid them. Town of Deerfield paid them. We also are being asked for a $600 donation to that department, up and above what we paid them. Donation, same thing with Stratford. They had an ambulance here. We paid for it. Looking for a $150 donation. This isn't their asking. This is on our bill that we're paying. Okay? Donation for the Chester Fire Department. Again, $150. We paid them. Annual cost of the Deerfield Rescue. The Deerfield Rescue when we donate a $500 donation to them, they restock their rigs. More gauze, more Band-Aids, more antiseptic, whatever it is they need. That's the $500 that we donate to them. They utilize it. It goes back to this town to use the way it should. On top of the $33,000, or however you want to look at it, $47,000, the fire department, to me, my own words, had the audacity to ask for a $500 donation. So if you want to look at it at $47,000, you add 5 to that, or you add all of the other figures I put to that. And I want to know if any of you guys can think that we got taken advantage of. So I think next year, there's nothing that we can do, because the state statute has us all kind of hogtied, because it says right in the laws, authority having jurisdiction. It's no different than the electrical inspector in town. State codes, the National Electric Code, can say one thing. He can go up and above that because authority has that jurisdiction. We cannot have a fire department without the authority agreeing with it. We can an ambulance. We can hire our own ambulance company. We do not need Deerfield to have an ambulance in there. We can bring in our own EMTs from neighboring towns. We can bring in our own ambulance from neighboring towns. We don't have to have anybody get involved in that other than us. We've always done it through town because that's the right thing to do. The fire departments have us tied to the wall because authority having jurisdiction. We can't bring in the good old boy pumper trucks that we all know that are out there, everybody that collects these trucks and keep them in working order. We can't pull in our own regime of firemen. Because if the chief says no, it's no. Can't do it. So we're held, and I'll use the word, we're held hostage. And I think we're taken advantage of on this. So going into next year, I would hope that this board, select board, would be able to maybe rein in the chief a little bit. We were originally gonna go into a closed door session, but then we couldn't talk about this after, you know? So I'd rather have it out in the open so that we can all discuss it, we can all hear it. I'm not afraid to talk, and I'm not afraid to answer questions. So I would just hope that this town and the select board would look at what the Deerfield Fair does for the town and the good that it does for the town. And there's a lot of people in this town that still today, I'm not an old man by any means, but I'm been to that fair for over 50 years. And there's still people that live in this town that feel and believe that it's the Deerfield Fair because it's owned by the town of Deerfield. We bought and paid for that that fair years ago, and we pay our fair share of taxes that the Fair Board members years ago and the forefathers of that board of directors that I sat on for years and the president that I sit in now, they said, we will never, and the town had said, you can have no taxes years ago when they bought it. And Lee and Harvey and all those people back then that were townies, just as we all are, said, no, we don't want to owe a dime to the fair. We will pay our fair share of taxes. So I think we've got to stop and think about where our fair share of taxes lies, which we tried to do an abatement. It didn't work, and that's fine. We never even appealed it. We said, Avatar says no. No. To me, that was a little bit of a precursor that our forefathers said, don't do that. So I allowed it to go against what the forefathers said by trying to do an abatement, which was agreed years and years ago we never would do. As long as I'm on the board, we'll never do it again. But I think we ought to reconsider this. This is a little bit high. And I'll answer any questions that come along.
Blake, you have something?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you. First of all those things that you listed off that the fair does for the town and the school, it's been greatly appreciated. I've been involved in a lot of that stuff, and we do appreciate that. And I think it is the right thing to do as well. But you do it, and Much appreciated. Sounds to me like we need to kind of get to the bottom of that somehow. You know, we need to get, speak with the chief, obviously. I mean, we're hearing one side of this situation. I think we need to hear the other side as well, but we should get to the bottom of it, clearly. John, do you have any information about what Don referenced about the inspections?
I don't have any involvement in that. That's strictly through the fire department.
Oh, those were fire inspections that took place for
Correct.
your buildings? Oh, okay.
Fire inspections that we have is basically put on by the state. I've been involved in life safety and the electrical committee for probably 8, 9 years now. We have to have the state come in. It was years ago, before I stepped onto that, before President O'Neill asked me to step onto the board for life safety and electrical. The state was, there was some threats around it. The state was gonna close us down through safety violations electrically. I'm sure some of you guys are aware of that. I asked David if I could set my own committee up and put on people that I knew. I wanted some laymen, I wanted some contractors, and I wanted some electricians on my board with me, and we did. So we set up, I made a couple of phone calls up to, back then, it was Chief Degnan with the state, and I told him, I said, there's a lot of bad publicity going on between the fair and the union leader and the Concord Monitor about the state shutting us down. And he assured me that that was never a comment made. So I asked him, I said, I have my crew, or my group, I would like you to set up a group. That's all we do. So before anything goes to the press, we talk to you. Before anything goes to the public, you talk to us. Every year we get together and we set up a plan for the fair. So we did. He set up a 4-man team. I had a 4-man team. We met every year from that point on. I'm still in great communication with a gentleman that retired. He moved out of state. He's down in Texas. I talk to him quite often just because we made a friendship. With that, you know, we set up what we called a 5-year plan. We took everything that the state was holding against us, or per se held against us, electrically with inadequacies that were at the fair, and we set up that 5-year plan. And I took out a large amount of money from the fair, said, hold this aside, we'll make these repairs. So in 3 years, we finished our 5-year safety plan. And we've done nothing but move forward from that point on, fixing things that are still on their list, but what they consider not detrimental. So, you know, we work with those guys. And again, they have to walk around originally, and the new chief, had a good idea. You know, originally we walked around and looked at everything what I call a hard building. So any vendor that was serving food, we looked in their buildings. Do you have Ansel systems? Do you have electrical up to code? Do you have your fire extinguishers up to code? Past chiefs and I walked around with our groups, with the state. Awesome. The new chief, as again, he comes up with new ideas, new things are changing. Why do we look at all the vendors that are in hard buildings when you have all these people that are going gypsy in campers? So we started inspecting campers too. So that's just, again, for safety. So the state does it. They're in there for 2 days. I usually call them in for 2 days prior to the fair, like halfway through the fair. Do you see anything you don't like? Let us fix it before we get nailed the day before the fair. Like I said, there's no charge. There's never a charge from the state. There was never a charge from the prior chiefs. Just this one here. And, you know, it's not a lot of money, but it was over $600. You know, it's a lot of money. It's not a lot of money, but it is. You know, if I asked somebody else to give me $600 out of their pocket to pay for that, I'm sure they'd say no.
So this work that was done locally here by the chief and the fire department, that gets done at homes in town, similar types of
Yep.
inspections, there's no charge in the community? Is that what you said?
I've never been charged. I've had electrical work done at my house. I put my house on a foundation. I built a barn.
There's no charge?
Other than the building permit.
Correct. And we didn't have any building. And if we do something down there, we build a building, we get a permit. We come in here, we talk to Rick. If one of our vendors wants to tear a building down, they have to come here to get a demo permit. they have to come here to get a building permit. We do everything that every other citizen in this town does.
Okay, so your question really is, why did you get charged for something that no one else gets charged for?
That's a piece of it, yes.
That piece of it, yeah, okay. Yeah. Good question.
You know, it's time to deal with it.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I think Dwight's right. I mean, one side, and then we gotta hear the other side,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah, I think it would
Go from
be,
there.
it'd be interesting to see how the chief was able to come up with these numbers and,
We do have his figures. We have all the figures. He did send them to us.
okay.
So we have everything that he charged per person, whether it be an EMT, EMTI, ambulance, fire, what he was ranked as fire, whether it be a chief or whether it just be a fighter, or a
Yep.
firefighter. We do have that whole breakdown. My heartache on this is, I know they were paid a lot more than what they have been in the past. So did we just set a precedent? So Dwight, I hate to, I'll use you as an example. If you've been working for me for $8 an hour, but now this year I pay you $40 an hour, are you gonna come back to work for me for $8?
No.
So there's my precedent, you know, have we just set a precedent? So now these neighboring EMTs and these neighboring firefighters that we usually paid more than $8 an hour, I say that. Did we just set a precedent and now they'll say no? You know, the police department has never done that. Cut and dry. Here's your bill. This is what we're gonna pay our officers. This is what we're gonna pay our officers with the four-wheelers. We have never wavered from that. We go up in a yearly, bi-yearly increase because cost of living goes up. So we understand that.
But beyond, Sean Beausoleil, I'm a member of the Board of Directors for the fair. I think beyond the rates, and I don't begrudge anybody the rates that they're due, I think it's the quantity of people that have been dedicated to the fair. I agree we need a first responder force there to take care and stabilize any situation that may arise, but we have the equivalent of 20 people here full-time. I think that's too many. I think that's the issue we need to look at, is just the number of bodies that have been allocated more than
Well-
full-time to the fair.
is there a code? I know you have to have X number of police officers for large gatherings. Is there a state code on fire in EMT?
Like I said, I've got a friend of mine that was on the state board. There is nothing, again, it's authority having jurisdiction. They can't tell us what is safe and what isn't safe. The police department does, they say 1 per 50 or whatever it be. Fire department, I've looked through a lot of statutes, I haven't found any. And what Sean is referring to is the amount of people, you know.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a,
No,
statute.
I've looked and I didn't see anything, and I've dug into it pretty deep.
Is this I know you guys are on fair associations, all the fair associations talk. Is this a issue with other fair associations at other fairs?
A lot of it, that's kind of a double-edged sword on that one.
Yeah.
Because Stratham Fair, that's a fire put on fair,
Yeah,
all right?
and it hasn't happened in a couple of years.
Right. Cheshire Fair, it's another one that's helped by the fire auxiliary. Cornish, another one, fire auxiliary. Hopkinton, fire department. We're one of the only independent, and I was saying the only one, we're one of the only, maybe a handful. Freiburg, I think, is an actual Freiburg fair. That's theirs. They hire in their own people too. Have I reached out to Maine? No, I haven't. But even Topsfield, as big as that is, the fire department helps that. You know, they put forth into that too. So again, you know, we're no different than you guys sitting at that table right there. You know, we have something going on, we have to have fire there, we have to have police there, we have to have EMTs, over so many people.
Cindy?
I think too, another concern might be is that contract we signed, the fair didn't.
Never made it to us.
So when the fair got it a week in advance, there was no chance to come back to us, or no chance for them to say, we're not doing this contract. They had to go. It was fair time. So I think maybe our next contracts, we should be more careful about getting everybody's signatures on a piece of paper that everybody's agreeing to.
Yeah, I would agree.
With more lead time.
So
Right, definitely.
Fred, so basically it's bring the chief in?
Yes.
I mean, they've done a good job with their presentation.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don and Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, opening the RFQs.
Oh, Fred, just for minutes purposes, I got here at like 5:35.
Okay.
That'll come out.
No, hold off on that one. Yeah. That's the price.
He's making you think on your feet, John.
No, no. Same thing on that one. Hold off. You know, open that, yeah. So procedurally, what we would do with a qualifications-based proposal, and that's what this is, we will go through and review all the packages that were provided to us. I've got prepared a ranking sheet with all the criteria, and what I'd like to be able to do is have all of board members go through the two proposals, which I'm glad we only have two. In a way, I'm glad we only have two, since I was anticipating as many as 7 or 8, which would have taken a lot of time to go through those. But what I would like to be able to do is to go through each one of the two proposals, rank them, using the criteria that we've got. Then we make arrangements for them to come in to interview and get a good feeling as to how each of the firms would address the building and what their qualifications are. And then we open the prices that they provided to us, so that we don't focus on the price alone.
Right.
That's the thing. So we want to go through and look at them, and
So you're not saying to do that tonight?
no, this is homework.
I was about to say, if we're sitting here on
No. This is homework.
how we know it's a Fred-based system. There's already a spreadsheet.
Right. So, and John's.
So when do you, if we're gonna work on that, when do you figure, we have enough time to get this done before the new year, right?
Certainly before the 11th of January, yeah.
Okay.
We got enough time to do
Oh,
that.
yeah, because that's when we have the warrant articles due.
Right. So my thought would end up being probably if everyone is okay, we can get the reviews done by the next meeting, and next meeting we schedule interviews. That fits with everybody else.
So you're thinking the 27th?
Yeah, to finish our reviews and then schedule the interviews.
How much time are we gonna need, Fred, for doing year-end financials?
Well, I think
Separate night for this,
we could, yeah. We could if,
or do the financials?
Which doesn't have to be, like you said last time, doesn't have to be on a Monday.
right.
So-
What's your thought on the financials for the end of the year?
To look at the year-end balance,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
we'll have an idea. The last accounts payable run is actually the end of this week. So when Pete does his run on Monday, that'll be the last accounts payable for the year.
Mhm.
You'll have an idea over the weekend what the end balance will be for the year.
Okay.
and it can be discussed at Monday's meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Over the weekend is Christmas.
Yeah, right.
Well, I just mean, he'll send out the accounts payable expenditure report,
Or
just
should
like
we
he
move
always
the meeting
does.
to Wednesday, just to make sure?
Yeah, we could.
I mean, there's no cast and concrete for Monday unless somebody has
Cindy.
another.
Are we involving the police committee in on
Yeah,
this
I'd
decision?
certainly like to have them involved on the interview, yes.
Okay.
I've already reached out to Andy Robertson. He'd be willing to be on the interview committee.
And of course, Gary and.
Gary.
Okay.
The other Gary there, what was his name?
O'Connell?
O'Connell?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
you're talking, Dick, moving the 27th to the 29th?
Yeah, yes. I'm not gonna have time over the weekend to look at this.
It seems like a rather busy time of the year to be looking.
Right.
What kind of stuff are we looking at? I mean, rank-wise. How engineering are we getting here?
Get the sheet.
Double-sided.
Do I have to pass this off to the kids?
So we've got, looking at the company background, and all that is supposed to be in each one of those
Okay.
packages. Public safety experience, key staff members, they're supposed to identify the key staff members that are going to be working on the project. Local knowledge, if they show any local, and any homework they may have done with regard to the situation that we have here. Quality of the proposal and ability to perform, again, that should all be in there, and then finally in references, and that's another point. It would probably be easiest if, of course, with only two, it may not be that bad, but I was going to suggest for references, have John take and contact the references that each of them provides, and he would give us what his.
That'd make a lot more sense than each
Yeah,
one
we
of
don't
us
want all
calling.
of us calling them.
Yeah, you're getting 5 phone calls for each one of these, for all references, so if that's all right with everyone else, we could do that. So these are the criteria that we have. So having the meeting on Wednesday, is that okay with everyone else?
Just a couple days.
Okay.
That meeting date is open. The last meeting of that week, zoning board has the room on the Tuesday, but Wednesday's open.
Wednesday's open, okay, good. Well, why don't we do that then?
To the 29th?
Yeah,
Okay.
Instead of the 27th.
right.
Yeah, okay.
If that works for you.
Works for me.
Oh, wait. I
Yeah.
don't think that works for me.
The 29th?
Yeah. But I'm not entirely sure if that makes sense. There's
Okay.
been a ton of Christmas plans thrown around. I'm not
Mhm.
quite sure if that works or not. The 27th, I'll just send an email out, but don't change everything based on me.
Okay.
I have to check with the head planner.
You have your people call our people.
Okay, we're all good on that?
Okay, I guess we're all set on that
So
then.
we'll pick those up after the meeting.
And I guess between now and then, you want to start looking at the references that they provide and start making some
I certainly
phone
can.
calls?
I'll just need to make copies of those
Yeah,
pages
okay.
out of your packet,
Yeah, that's fine.
because they only sent 5.
Okay. All right. Conservation Commission, they're not here tonight.
They sent a written report. They told me they wouldn't be here in person, but they did submit a report, which I sent to the,
Okay. All right, review of outstanding minutes, minutes of December 13th.
Move is written.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Vote, and
Abstain.
any opposed? It's
We got
vote
one
unanimous.
abstention.
Oh, and one abstention for Dwight, right. All right. Accounts payable, we have the manifest for accounts payable in the amount of $817,200. $293.37, of which $750,000 is for the school.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's vote unanimous. All right, we have no correspondence. And
Where did the Conservation Commission one get sent? Was it in correspondence?
I believe I sent it to you electronically. No?
No, I didn't get it.
I'll send it out tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, John.
all right, we do have, John, you want to explain this one with regard to the re-signing of the layout, highway layout for Ridge Road Extension?
Yes. The board on October 12th signed the original laying out of Ridge Road. Unfortunately, somehow the town clerk misplaced the original copy. I was able to provide them with a scanned signed copy, which they had stamped as received. But I think for historic purposes, it should be an original signed copy. And I've already asked if Andy could come in, he will re-sign it. So if the 4 original board members, and then Andy will sign it on the original date, the town clerk will record it again.
But just for records purposes?
Just for
We're not
records purpose.
changing anything?
Nothing has changed, it's the original document.
And the original document is attached to...
I have the scanned copy behind it.
Right. So I don't think we really need a...
We don't need a motion.
Don't need a
No,
motion, no.
it's more for record keeping and
Good.
historic purposes.
And we have a personnel action request from, I guess it's from Steve, with regard to a Michael Bly as a highway laborer and posing as part-time, and I guess the question is, we end up make it, rather than part-time, have it as temporary seasonal. Steve, did you want to address that?
Yeah, whatever you guys need it to be, it's for snowplow help mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with that then.
Make it
Seasonal.
seasonal, yeah.
Also, he would be on the emergency list, so if there was another Mother's Day flood or anything like that, or a tornado, so I would assume that part-time would be better than seasonal, but whatever you think.
That category is on-call seasonal temp, so that would cover on-call.
Okay, on-call seasonal temp, oh, well, okay.
Would have any questions?
So he's just working storms then, right?
Basically, yep. Or anytime we have a shortage.
Thanks, Ray.
See you, Dick.
Okay.
And
Dick.
the pay
Luck,
rate is $18 an hour.
Is that, I assume there's a reason you came up with the 18?
That's norm, I mean,
Okay.
Does Mike have a CDL? He can
Does
drive
not.
anything? He doesn't. The 1 ton and,
1 ton, plus he's obviously, as we know, mechanical. Can help us fix stuff and run some equipment, of course.
Okay. Do we need a motion on this?
I think we do we?
A motion for the board chair to sign.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we hire Mike Bly as a seasonal employee or on-call employee and authorize Fred to sign for the board.
Is there a second?
second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
All his paperwork, and does he have to have a physical, I don't
He's-
know what,
No, he wouldn't need a physical, as far as far as license-wise is concerned, if the town requires it, that's up to them.
The background checks still need to be done.
On the back, okay. But that's already, that's all out, it's all gone to,
No, it'll be gone
Okay.
after this is approved.
okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. It's a vote unanimous.
So how did we do the other day? Everything, first storm of the year?
Well, other than the fact I'm down 2 trucks, 1 town employee, and I had 2 other trucks that didn't come in because they were broke down. So we did okay.
The only complaint I got, Steve, was that you plowed one guy's road too often.
Nice. That's a first.
I was gonna call and tell you when I got that message. I thought that was interesting.
That is a first. We rode, I don't know, 20-some odd hours,
I was about to say, it was kind of a long
and
storm.
we only went out 3 times, so, you know, there was a lot of hanging around, unfortunately,
Yeah,
which, you know, just, it's hard. You know, makes it,
well, this guy was concerned. He thought he saw a plow on his road 7 or 8 times.
oh no, 3 times. But it doesn't mean that, I don't know what road it was, I mean, it doesn't mean that trucks don't go over that road that are
To get
doing
to
other roads,
Yeah.
right?
Or out and back.
Which I
Right.
think exactly is what was exactly happening.
Probably was, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
All right,
Steve?
what about filling Carl's position? Any more thoughts on that, or I just have to ask every time because I never get an answer
I think we're still at the same answer.
Right,
that you're discussing it?
Yeah.
right.
Well, that's what we got Mike to kind of help fill in, right? That's-
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Oh,
Billy,
yes,
You're on your way out?
excuse me?
You're on your way out?
Oh,
Headed out of the meeting?
yep.
Okay. Before you go, Thurston Pond Road. Last I knew, Steve was gonna go out and check that out. Did you have an opportunity to do that?
I have not yet. I will. Yep,
Okay, just curious, thanks.
We're still hearing from the abutters, so if you could check that.
okay,
I think it's got some snow on it now, but
right.
good call.
There was
Good
a
catch,
water, what do you call
Mike.
it?
Water bar.
Water bar across.
Yeah.
Need to look at.
Yep, okay.
It's my understanding that there's more than one now.
More than one water bar?
Yeah,
Oh,
another 3 or 4 on the road.
And there's only one
Only one when I went out.
that was out on Saturday.
So,
Unless we had some extra work done between Saturday and today, there was only one.
if you could check it at some point and give us your opinion on it, Steve.
could give my opinion right now, but, all right.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
We have a Whittier Road 2 pole settings for Eversource.
A road that probably has 4 poles.
John?
I can, a little background on this. This has been going on for several months. The difference with most poll petitions and this one, consolidated communication is involved with it. So once Eversource fills out their portion of the poll petition, it goes over to Consolidated, and they haven't gotten it back yet. So I have a homeowner that's calling me regularly, as well as Eversource, when is this going to be resolved? They were able to provide a poll petition, a poll location map, which is really the functional part of the whole poll petition that allows the road agent to go out, take a look at where they're going to locate the polls and approve that they're going in the right place. There's just not the additional paperwork that is going along with this, but I talked to Eversource. It would help them out to move the project forward, and also the homeowner to get these polls put in. Once Consolidated returns the formal poll petition documentation, I'll bring it to the board, and you can sign it and finish up the documentation. But Steve has already gone out and approved the location of both poles.
So we're waiting on Consolidated.
Right. And there's nothing Eversource can do. They've sent it to them quite a while ago.
So we need a signature by the board at this point?
This would help move it forward so that Eversource could put the poles in. And then once the poll petition documentation comes in, you'll see this whole thing again.
So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept or approve the poll petition.
Poll, location,
Poll location and map. Okay.
Second?
Moved and
Thanks, John.
seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Vote unanimous.
This kind of, it falls under our jurisdiction, it doesn't, but it seems like the telephone companies here in town aren't doing much. I mean, we've had poles that have been broken off that the pole's been replaced and we've had the telephone apparatus hanging. There's a family on 43 that's got, I don't know what the appropriate term is because I'm not a telephone person, but there's something hanging right next to their driveway off the pole, about 8 feet up, that they've called the phone company on and got no response. You know, they're not doing much in the way of service here. So I don't know if that's, like I said, it's not our purview, but it is our purview because it's in town. So at some point, we're gonna have to get after the phone company and, you know.
Certainly seemed that way, yeah.
Yeah. They're holding up a lot of stuff. And like I said, that thing if it was hanging in my driveway, I probably would have cut it down by now, but they've been calling every number they can find and it's been hanging there for 2 weeks. So, doesn't seem great.
Yeah, right. All right, we have, remember we had the easements from DOT come before us. Well, apparently it was useful to go back to them and say, we had a higher estimate on square foot value in town. So they came back and accepted the 60 cents a square foot that we had talked about.
So that netted us how much extra?
Let's see, on one of them, it didn't net us any extra, and on the other one, it was, let's see. I don't know, what was the previous one? This one's $920 now?
I think it went up like $300, but still,
Yeah, but,
$300.
right.
Good job, Fred.
Nice catch.
So we have to do a motion now
A
to,
motion to have me sign on behalf of the town for both
Right.
the easement deed and also this compensation.
all right, so I'll make a motion that we accept the bid or the number from the state of New Hampshire for the easements around Freeze's Pond Dam and authorize Fred to sign as chair.
Is there a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
That covers all the bases we need to cover, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. It's vote unanimous. I'll sign.
those previous prices were $300 and $570.
So,
Yeah, so we
it was
picked-
worth the time you put in? And I assume that helped the other abutter who also needed it. There was one of the private landowner that was getting the same bid, so hopefully.
Well, I don't know if they do the agreements
Oh, okay.
individually.
So you'll sign as notary, or,
I'll notarize those tomorrow.
okay. Oh, I gotta sign in two spots, yeah. Get those taken care of. And Town Administrator's Report.
Couple items for you this evening. First thing is I wanted to revisit the previously approved cloud server program that Steve Gemelli and I had presented to the board a couple of meetings ago. There was an initial bid of $1,000 that is slightly off. It's going to be more about $1,500 for both servers. That gives us plenty of space for the near future for both of the servers. He was told originally 1,000 for both, but that wasn't quite accurate. So we reduced the amount of space that we're purchasing, which was way over what we needed, but this is adequate enough for us and our needs right now. So I just wanted to alert the board that that price is $1,500, not $1,000.
Okay.
And this is just adequate now, though, where before we thought we were getting something that we wouldn't have.
And I asked Steve that question, and he said in the time he's been here, 12 years, they have not gone over 500 gigabytes. I don't anticipate us using 750 gigabytes in the near future, if it hasn't changed in 12 years. And there's always the option to buy more at a later time. You're basically buying space.
Okay.
But this is well within our range, and we still have quite a good-sized buffer before we max out. I also wanted to mention you have your 2022 meeting calendar in there to review, and if there's any questions, concerns, or changes, let me know at the next meeting before I finalize it and post it.
Just an overall question on that.
Yes.
guys. And this isn't, again, to John, this is just to the board. Do we need a meeting every week?
It goes down to every other meeting.
other.
Starting in January. It only goes to every meeting starting in August, once we get into budget time.
That's what I hate about SB 2. Okay, I knew there was something.
So from January to the end of July,
Budget
actually the
season
end of
starts way too early, that's the problem.
January to the end of August, it's every other meeting. I
Okay.
mean, every other week.
It just felt like we'd been doing the.
This
every
year
week.
was a lot of meetings. Some good news, you've probably noticed in the accounts payable, Pete has been adding more and more vendors to our credit card purchases. We actually increased our credit limit in order to do that. So far, starting from just May this year, we've already were able to accumulate $3,025 in interest back to the town, which will be revenue going back into our accounts,
Nice.
just from using credit cards to pay our vendors. And so I anticipate that amount being higher next year when we've got a full year in. So some good news. That's it from me this evening.
Is that interest or rewards from the? credit?
Reward credits.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Interest.
I was just confused. Thanks.
All right, unfinished business, anybody has any questions for John? Any unfinished business, draft warrant articles? We're just really waiting on the.
I'm going to leave that on there until we have that one for
Okay.
the Police Department Trust Fund.
So, that does bring up an NBC complaint that we haven't provided them draft warrant articles, and I went round and round the other day with a member of the NBC, and I told him I'd bring it up here. Do we want to give them a list of what we've approved so far for them to look at? Or do we want to wait? I don't see a problem giving them the list.
Yeah, I don't see one either.
Yeah, let them get their job done, and
Yeah.
we can give them what we have.
So if we could have that for tomorrow's
Can have it
meeting.
tomorrow.
You're not coming to tomorrow's meeting, are you?
No.
I'll give it to them then.
Okay.
And the same thing with the default budget, I assume.
Well, there's three things that they typically get, which are the warrant articles, the default budget, and the revenue report. So I can have all three ready for you tomorrow to give to them.
That would be great.
Okay.
Because I have explained that we're waiting on one warrant article, but
Right.
I do think it's a little, there's no point in us holding all the other ones till
Yeah.
we have that one that we're waiting on.
I agree.
Yep.
And deliberative voting sessions.
Dick asked us to push it back to this meeting.
Okay.
Is Dick, are we pushing it back to the next meeting?
That is just, where would the board like to hold the voting? This is a question coming through me from the moderator.
Well, I know Dick had asked to hold off until the Fair Board met again.
President's still here.
He's still here.
See,
We're not
Donnie,
meeting
you
again
stuck
till
around.
January.
I may be speaking out of turn, but to be really blunt, everything was hinging on our meeting tonight. Me personally, I don't see why we can't. Seemed like it was pretty receptive, as far as I'm concerned, with the Directors Board. So, I can ask that of Dick and see if we can get it across. See if we can do that. We don't normally like to do that kind of thing, email.
Yep.
But if we can get it, I know you guys want that sooner than later.
The moderator does.
He just wants to know if it could,
Dan can wait.
he just wants to know if it can be a backup option, should we need it.
I would think it'd probably be more than a backup option.
As if the numbers keep going the way they are.
Well, yeah, if they keep going south like they are now, yeah.
Right.
Again, I think I was pretty plain in what I said, we have it, if you need it, one hand washes the other.
Yeah.
That's how that goes.
All right,
Thank you, Don.
so I think we'll hold off a bit.
Yeah. New business and other business, and I was going to, we do have a letter in our or in our individual files here from Mr. Thompson. I did want to take and just provide a short description as to my visit out to the site, which was, I believe it was on Saturday, but I'm not 100% sure. But I took a look at the water bar that's there. There was only one I had seen. It's immediately above the Adams's driveway. The water bar appears to have been in place there to catch the water that's running down the middle of the road, not from the side. It's just running down the middle, and kick it off to the north side of the road. At one point, I guess Mr. Thompson in his letter here was concerned about the water running onto his property. The location where the water bar is, it's in what's referred to as a cut section of the road. You have embankments that go up on both sides, so the road is below those embankments. So it's impossible for the water to get onto Mr. Thompson's property because it has to stay within the road because it can't go uphill. And it doesn't reach a point to get onto Mr. Thompson's property for about 175 feet further down the hill. And that's the normal location of the direction where water would flow anyways. So
This is, when I went out there, it would seem to me like this is going to prevent further erosion of that part of the road.
right.
Which is the point to a water bar.
Right. Yeah, so I think Dwight had a good suggestion about bringing all parties in to discuss this with them. I don't know if we want to send out a letter to them and asking them to come in to, probably not our next meeting, but maybe the first meeting in January or something, I don't
And
know.
which parties would you want to invite in?
Well, obviously, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Adams.
Steve?
And Denny and
Road agent?
Yeah.
the road agent too, yeah.
Or-
I-
Oh, sorry, Dick.
No, go right ahead.
No, go ahead. Dwight.
My thought was to actually meet at the site, so everybody can see it.
The only problem with that is there's a good chance we'll all be covered in snow.
Yeah,
Because this is a non-maintained part of the road.
Do you,
So it's not going to be
You want-
plowed.
you want to have all abutters on Thurston Pond Road and Ridge Road in the meeting? Because the
Mr.
discussion
Cross.
may be more than just the water bar, it could be other items.
Personally, I think it's kind of got overblown.
well, that's kind of what my thought was too.
And I don't know if we really need a giant meeting
Okay.
to say that.
Yeah,
That's my opinion. I went out there and I saw a very simple water bar to prevent that road from getting washed out.
And that's fine this time, but next time, what are they gonna do? Do they know?
There is a maintenance agreement on the road, though.
But they have to contact the road agent.
Agreed.
I
So
think John, you were gonna check with legal to see if that agreement that was prepared in '94, whether that goes to perpetuity, or whether that is,
I did check with counsel, and he confirmed that there is a statute that I believe I passed on to the board, that gives the board ultimate authority for all road repairs, the board and/or their road agent, and supersedes an agreement. They have an agreement to do the maintenance and hold the town harmless. However, they still would need permission before they do any work on the road.
But in your question, Fred, the way I read that agreement was that it stayed with the property, regardless of owner.
That stays with the property.
Yeah.
and I did want to mention too, which I failed to, that Mr. Thompson describes this as being a trench. It's probably measuring from the bottom of the water bar to the top, a little berm that they created is probably between 6 and 8 inches. I was able to drive over it with my car. I don't have a pickup truck, so it was just the car, and I was able to drive back over it without getting stuck. So it's not a
Major
a moat,
excavation.
so to speak.
Well, my thought was to get together at the site, but Alden, you're right about the weather. Maybe this is something that we could put off to the spring and, take a little field trip and get out there and,
Yeah, we can do that.
just so everybody knows we're, not pushing it under the rug. We're just gonna take a look at it when the weather's better and try to keep any more letters from flying around.
Well, does Mr. Thompson just want us to, I'm not sure what he wants us, to educate them on what they can and cannot do? Is that what he's?
Well, I'm not sure, but it seems as though they felt like they did everything just exactly how they should have been doing it. In my opinion, is different from that.
I think we're getting dragged into two neighbors fighting. And
Well, it could well be, but, the agreement says the work's got to be done under the supervision and control of the road agent, so that's how it should be done. And the road agent didn't know anything about it, the Board of Selectmen didn't know anything about it, and it says in the Class 6 statutes that, that it's supposed to actually happen in writing to the Board of Selectmen when people do work like that. So I don't think they followed that agreement, quite honestly, and they certainly should be held to it going forward.
My thought was to have John send out a letter quoting the statute and saying any new work to be done on the road would require approval from the Board of Selectmen or the road agent. And I guess probably to anybody who's in a butter to the road.
that's what I was just about to suggest, Fred, not just the two people we're
Right.
talking to, but
No, everybody.
everybody on the Class 6
Right.
road.
Right.
And maybe we want to throw Ridge Road Extension in on there too.
Yes.
Any of the roads
Well, we have a ton of Class 6 roads, we just have these two that have been our issue lately.
for now.
You'll have me busy
John,
until
we
June.
write 40,000 letters here.
So letter to abutters on Thurston Pond and Ridge Road.
Yeah,
That seems to be the crux of our issue lately,
right.
are those two roads.
And then just citing the statute and that any future work would require notification to the Board of Selectmen and/or the road agent.
We were all out there not long ago as a board as well for the dam issue.
Right. All right, anything else?
Yes.
Dwight?
We received information about a situation on South Road.
Oh, yes.
So I was just wondering where that is at.
Rick and I discussed it before he left on vacation. He was going to contact town council and get advice on the next step to contact that resident.
Okay. Just as a question of procedure here, when people reach out to the Board of Selectmen for issues, and we, since I've been here, there've been a few, is there a specific policy as to how we respond to those things?
I guess depending upon what the item is, if it's a zoning or code enforcement or whatever, we can then direct it to the building inspector.
Okay. Well, I'm thinking about that one on Ridge Road with the stone wall and the salt getting on the grass. I think,
Right.
just for an example, that information, I think we'd had it for a couple of weeks before we talked about it. My question then was, does somebody reach out? I mean, if it's addressed to the Board of Selectmen, I'm just thinking out loud here that perhaps John should,
Typically, when I get an email or a letter from someone, I reach out to them saying that I've forwarded the letter on or the email on to the Board of Selectmen as soon as I get it.
okay.
So I close that loop so they know I've received it.
Oh, that's good. Okay, all
and
right.
and I
That
get
was
back
one
to
of,
them.
one of the questions I had.
Yep. And then depending on what the board would like me to do, if they want me to respond further, then I will do that.
Okay,
But I usually acknowledge that I've received it and it's being forwarded.
good, okay. All right, and, perhaps in the future that, things like that come through, somebody on the Board of Selectmen also may, might be nice if they reached out to the people and just said, hey, we've got the information, thanks for sending it in, and this is how we're gonna approach it. We're gonna talk about it next Monday, or we're gonna send somebody out, or, just so people know that we're listening. That's all.
Right.
That's all I have. Thanks,
Okay.
Fred.
All right,
Did just text with my master scheduler. I'm not around that Wednesday.
okay.
Be with it as it may.
Does he still have to do his homework?
Still has to do his homework,
His
yeah.
homework. I just have a question about job descriptions. We need to update our job descriptions, correct? Is that something we could give to the department heads and give them a project to do, and then we can review them, or somebody can review them?
As far as the
Job
department heads writing
descriptions.
up what their description is,
Yeah.
or what?
Or not just them, but the people that work under them?
Are you talking about for the
I'll be talk-
alternative duty that Denny was talking about?
Just job descriptions in general.
Some of them are newer than others.
Mhm.
Unless somebody has moved out of the position, it's not typically reviewed. We are going to be going through the entire town anyway, because Primex, our insurance carrier, it's part of their process that we have to include alternative job descriptions for someone that comes in that's been injured, rather than them taking full-time off. There's alternative duty that can be assigned to someone, if it's possible. So we're going to be reviewing them all anyway.
Okay. But the Joint Loss Management Committee is reviewing them, right?
Well, Human Resources, which is me, I'll be pulling them all out, and with the department heads' help, making sure that they're current to what the job is requiring them to do, then they'll be passed on to the joint loss.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Citizens' comments? Dick's not here, so
I'll make a motion that we
adjourn.
adjourn. I
Second.
completely lost that. I was trying to figure out what time it was and lost all.
6:45.
7:42.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dick's gotta sit around here.
That's right, we
can't
get lost
function.
without him. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.